Hey everyone, we finally have a pre-order date. Michael and I just want to thank you all for waiting patiently. And I know we really took advantage of that late June date that we told you guys. And now that we have a pre-order date set, just want to go through the details of all the kits that we offer. We'll give you a general idea of the installation process and how everything fits together. This isn't a full installation video, that will come out later on. And going forward in this video, I should note that we did not receive our components in time. So keep that in mind, that not everything you see in this video is what you'll get as part of the final kit. First things first is the disclaimer. This kit will require you to do some irreversible modifications. So if you are interested in this kit, please proceed at your own risk. There'll be more on this later on. Second thing are the required components that are not included as part of the kit that you need to buy on your own. This includes a speaker and amp combo, or a Bluetooth speaker of some sort, external battery source, and you'll need 2 of these micro SD cards. Although it's up to you to decide, we do suggest you consider our recommendations as we built parts of the kit with these in mind. For the power requirements, the diesel batteries are not enough juice. The boards require 5 volts and the amps require 12 volts. Because of this, we strongly recommend the Talent Cell battery. This is the 6000 milliamp version. The 3000 milliamp version is preferred as its small size fits perfectly behind the power cell panel. Make sure you get one with both a 5 volt and 12 volt output, as you can easily plug in the 2 cables needed to power the devices. Ignore the wires here too. This is just, I opened this thing up. For audio, we use these 3-inch 15 watt speakers and a 15 watt amp. This is not the amp that is included. This is just a stand-in that I have. If you purchase this speaker and amp combo, then you can consider our speaker support kit, where we include all the necessary wires, cables, and the 3D printed mounts. More on that later. Okay guys, moving on to the main kits. We offer up 2 variations. The one you see below here, minus the parts that I don't have, is the essential kit. And that includes the 2 main boards, of course, pack and the wand, a volume rotary encoder replacement, the 2 soundboards here. They will come with pre-soldered housing and the wires like this, and there'll be a little terminal, screw terminal block here instead of this thing. That for the wand board, that will be for the speakers to screw into. And like I said, we didn't have all the components coming yet, but as a stand-in, you'll basically get a bunch of whatever cables like this that are necessary to connect everything together. This little thing called a cage, it's just a little housing for the wand board, and it will keep all the wires and everything together. This is a 3D printed panel replacement for your power cell compartment, a programming cable to connect to the computer, and 2 toggle switches, and these will have connectors coming out that you can plug into the pack board. One will be for the direction switch, and one will be for turning on and off the smoke kits that you might install. I forgot to mention that we also include this USB-A to JST battery connector. This will connect your Talent Cell battery straight to the pack board. Moving down to the bottom here, this is everything you see down here. This is part of the hose. So we will include a proper split loom hose here for you. It's much more flexible and than the rigid one that comes stock. These are the Nutric connectors that will be installed on the wand end. A 3D printed connector that will be combined with that. And not shown on the other end, that will go onto the other side of the hose, is a Klinko connector, and that will connect to the pack. And of course, all the wires that will be necessary that go in along in the hose, into the wand handle, out into the pack, that will all be included. Anything that needs to be soldered is already soldered. Anything that doesn't, it will be left up to you to unscrew together. Now moving on, this is the bare basic kit. This kit is meant for people who know how to solder and have plans to use their own custom hose. Everything else that I mentioned before is the same. The main difference is that on the wave trigger, The aforementioned housings and wires and terminal blocks, these will not be soldered on. You'll have to solder those on yourself, which shouldn't take too long. In addition to that, if you look here where it says 5V, there are 2 pads that you can't see underneath, and they need to be joined together. So a dab of solder needs to be dropped on it, just like I did. What that does, I believe, it enables this 5-VIN pin here to be active. Once that solder is on, do not use this DC barrel jack to power this board. Actually, regardless of which kit you get, do not use this DC barrel jack anymore. And this thing, if you plug that in, that might mess things up. So do not use that. And then on the wand side, it's the same as the packs, except that you also need to remove the auxiliary port here. Let me put it closer. Yeah, as you can see, you need to pry that off, and as well as the DC barrel jack. Pretty simple. Just, I think I use tweezers and pliers to do it. The reason being is there's not much space in the wand, and so we need to use up whatever space we can get. And then on the hose side of things, as you see, we do not offer up the loom hose or any of the connectors. We'll just give you the wires that are needed. Not all the wires here are shown, but here, just as a stand-in example, that is what we'll give you. And then whatever hose you have yourself, you can just slide these in and connect them, solder them, whatever, do that yourself. And yeah, that's basically the 2 kits. Now we're gonna give you a quick run through of how everything looks when it's installed together. And also I'm gonna show you what needs to be modified. This isn't the installation video, that will come out later on. I'm just gonna try to speed run through everything to give you guys an idea of how it'll look. So for the pack, this is gonna be the easiest part of the install. The motherboard, just, take out all the screws and whatnot, and that comes off easily. That will be plugged into the board. All you gotta do is unplug that and put that aside. Moving closer, you'll see that the main board is situated up here. You'll just have to remove all these cables like I did. They're just plugged in, just have to unplug them. The board will be screwed in, so you just need to remove 2 screws and it'll come out. And of course, yeah, everything's already unscrewed here, but you have to unscrew the volume connector, the speaker, and the mounts. So that all comes out. You'll want to save the screws that come with the speaker mounts here, because we'll be using that on our own later on. And once that's done, we pop in our own board. And it should slot in. Yep, there you go. Exactly where the old one was. The rotary encoder, that will go right here, like this. And then all the existing wires plug right back in. The wave trigger will give you a double-sided tape, and that can probably, I believe sits right there. And then the cables that we provide, you can connect it to wherever it needs to go. So that's pretty much the pack. Very easy, as you can see. Okay, for the wand, it would be a little bit trickier. On the left here is a unmodified one, and on the right is one that I already worked on. So you'll have to take this off, and you can see that there are these little circles here. These are little pegs. These will need to come off. Your first major modification is screwing into those and pulling them out. And this is basically how it looks once you kind of wreck it, and you screw something in and pull it right out. Looks like that. And that's because you need to get access to 4 screws that will be inside. Once you unscrew those, that comes off. A few more screws here, and I believe there. And that opens up your wand. So those are your first irreversible modifications. The installation of the wand is a little trickier. Other than a few connectors that you can just simply pull out, most of the wires are soldered right onto the board, unfortunately. However, there are 2 solutions. You can either desolder them, or if you don't want to solder or know how to solder, you can simply just snip these off and then use some wire cutters, strip the ends, and then just twist the strand of wires together, making sure they're nice and tight and don't fray. The other solution is to use a soldering iron to desolder these wires. And I just really want to say, for you guys who don't know how to solder, I encourage you to try, because all you really need to do is desolder wires. You're not actually doing any soldering. And then in this entire kit, this is the only time you'll be using a soldering iron. So I really encourage you, I know if you're afraid, to take a step and try this out because it'll make it a lot easier. Basically, what you're going to do is I'm going to like push against the board, and I'm actually pulling on the wire just very lightly. And I'm just going to, once you heat up your solder, it takes a few minutes, I'm just going to apply it to the back here. And then once it liquefies, the wire should, I'm just going to pull a little bit more, and yep, like that. It just pops right out. Another benefit of this method is that you don't have to cut the wires and shorten them. If you make a mistake, you have to keep cutting lower and lower. And as you can see, these aren't very long. And when you pull them out via the solder method, there is a bit of solder that's stuck to the ends here. So look, it's already, all the little wires are already joined up. You don't need to twist it. You don't need to worry about it fraying. And it's all done. And that's it. I promise you, that's it. For this kit, that's all the soldering you will need to do. The next step, and probably the most difficult part of the modification that you need to do the wand, is right down in there. I already have wires running through, so you can't really see. You're gonna have to take a drill and drill a hole in there. And you're gonna have to drill it at an angle similar to how these wires are run. You have to go in like that. And that hole will go right into the handle around here. And that way you can run the wires through and out the end. Yeah, I think that's the most difficult part. I actually let you guys know, I made a lot of mistakes when I did the installation of this wand, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because I made a mistake so that when I do an installation video for you guys know what to look out for, and you guys won't make the same mistakes I did. Once that's done, we can start with the installation of the wand board. As you see, there are many connectors, so a lot of the existing connectors here can plug right in. For all these wires, they simply use these screw terminals here. Here's an example of how this wand will look with everything installed with the cage. The purpose of this is to clear this here. So all the wires are all snug inside. Everything is nice and solid. And we test it out. Yep, the barrel clears. And that's the most important thing. And the weight trigger, it just sits right on top here. Oops, I should go this way. Still clears. Oh, looks like it snags a little bit on one of my custom cables there. Yeah, there you go. I think this wand, the wand version I have here, is not very good because I don't know if it's made faulty, but it kind of hits the speaker. Does anyone else have that problem? My other wand doesn't do this. It's only this one. It's really weird. After that, all you have to do is just kind of, pack it back up, close it up, and you're good to go. Now for the hose, it will be disassembled when you get the kit. I know I put it together quickly here just for demonstration, but when you receive the kit, it will be disassembled. It's a very easy to assemble kit, so don't worry about that. But the reason being is that, I've seen all sorts of different types of hoses out there that people have done. Everyone's got their own idea of how screen accurate they want to be. For example, this is not for sale. We're not selling this kit, but I bought this. This is not an official Herbert Cooper breather hose like in the movie. I just bought a cheaper one off eBay. This I think was $17 Canadian. So yeah, I plan to cut the loom shorter. I haven't bought a fuse line hose yet from Home Depot. I plan to install that. I plan to cut this, and for me, I'm happy. It doesn't need to be super screen accurate. For you guys, once you have finished your hose assembly, whatever custom hose you want to do, you're going to want to take the long wires and you run that through the pack here. On the end here, not shown, will be the Clinco connector here. That will be soldered onto these wires already. And then on the other end, there'll be the female connector with connecting wires like this that go out and into the pack. So as you see here, I remove the stock pack connector here and the wire. You won't need this anymore. You can get rid of that. And inside, you just run these wires through inside and connect it to the board. Electrical tape will do the job of connecting the Clinco. And then going up the hose to the other end here, this is the Nutric connector. This one will not be soldered on because these have screw terminals, as you see I've done here. yeah, same with the other side. I can't do right now, but you're gonna have to use a lot of electrical tape to wrap those together, and that will connect to this. Okay, I'm gonna show you here real quickly. I bought the wrong one for me personally. I bought this when this was still a DIY kit before me and Michael decided to make this into a kit for you guys. But the ones that you'll get will have screw terminals similar to this one in here. And then so you're gonna need to run the wires from the body of the wand through the handle out, and then screw in the wires to this here. And of course, this square piece here will be shaved off when you get it. This will be round, and that will fit perfectly into this connector. And then at the bottom, there will be a hole where you can put in a grub screw to hold these together. And that will just screw into the end cap here. And then this just plugs into there. Plug goes in, twists and locks, and it will look something like this. And I know this one is not the Screen Active one. They actually discontinued that one. And that one is only 3-pin. This is a 4-pin. But what you can do is, if you do have the Screen Active version, you can actually take out the inside. You'll need a Dremel or something to shave off some plastic, and you can use the inside part of that and fit it right into the Screen Active version. So that's all up to you. I'm fine with this one. I think this one looks good enough for me. And yeah, so that's it for the hose. For the panel, you're gonna want to basically remove the existing one here. There are 2 screws. I already took them off, but there are 2 screws here and here. You're gonna take those off, and then it just slides out. That Telecell 3000 milliamp talent cell battery can fit right in here. But the only thing is, you're gonna need to do is break this one off. You take the 3D printed one we provide you, and I'll just go, yeah, this goes right in there. And then so now you can access the battery through the boards here, the hole here, sorry. And then the wires will come out through this hole, back in, and it'll connect to the amp and the board. And then the programming cable can come out through here, like so. The programming cable will just come out, and this will plug into your computer. This is for any future software updates. This is how you reprogram your board. Also, there's a config file that you can customize things to your liking. And once you do that, you're gonna wanna plug this back in and reflash your boards. So that's what that's for. And of course, the 2 little holes here were meant for the toggle switches. And that's it for the panel. Next is the speaker support kit. This is designed around the recommended speaker and amp that we have been using this whole time. Once again, this is not the amp that you'll be getting. This is just a stand-in. I don't have the actual amp right here. But the most important thing is these 3-inch speakers. You'll need round ones that look like this. So I'm gonna put these aside for now, so not to confuse on what's included in this kit. The first thing is not shown here. There will be some speaker wires, not these ones, but there will be some speaker wires that will plug right into these terminals here. And then the other end will plug into the amp. DC battery cable here. This goes into talent cell battery. The other end screws into the amp. Auxiliary cable. This connects to the amp and the wave trigger. And some 3D printed mounts, which I will demonstrate on how it will look. Installing the mount, it'll look something like this. This bottom piece goes here. This one slots here. And then there'll be a top piece like this. And then the top speaker should just slot in there like that. This one will be placed in like this. And I don't have it printed yet, but there will be another top piece similar to this one here that will go right here. In terms of modifications for the motherboard, there are 2 little tabs like this. I lost the other one, but you're gonna have to break those off. We don't need them anymore. And then, for here, you're gonna need to move this strap cover here. So that just unscrews. And finally, to the first add-on kit that we're releasing. This is the inner Cyclotron LED kit. You're gonna get a 35 LED ring like this one. This is not it. This is a 24 ring. I just don't have a 35 one yet, but it's gonna look something like this. and it'll have wires and a connector, and that will go into the stock kit here. That, or if you have a 3D printed replacement one, whichever, it's all the same. What's also not shown here is a guitar pick. That's what you're going to use to kind of, you know, try to pry off the top lid. You just gotta go inside along the edge, just break off the glue to remove the top lid. You're gonna have to drill a hole right here, and that should just drop right in with the wires coming out and plug right into the pack board. And then over here is the replacement panel. So this is a 3D printed panel, and it'll come with all the clip lights. Those will pop right in there. And then there'll be the LEDs, and these will have wires and connectors that go right into the board as well. Very easy install for this kit here. And that is the end of our video. If you have any more questions, you can hit us up on our Facebook group or find us on GBFans, or you can email us through our website. So happy pre-ordering. Thank you for watching the video, and God bless.
Switch me on.
Stick. Oh! Heat him up!
There's no time for a bench test. Heat him up.
I have a radical idea. The door swings both ways. We could reverse the particle flow through the gate.
How?
We'll cross the streams.